All right, Shabbos, good morning. Let us begin by thanking all of our sponsors for this morning's share. To thank our TALMUD Torah sponsors for the month of Elul, Haba Aleinu L'Tova, Baruch Meir and Rena Dubin, in honor of their children and all of the Suburban sons and daughters beginning their year of study in Eretz Yisroel. May their Torah study and mitzvos in the Holy Land merit the release of our precious hostages, the success of our soldiers, the return to their families, and the arrival of Moshiach, tzidkeuni, bimheira b'yameinu. A week of learning sponsors, Shmuel Shira Artman, in appreciation to the entire community for the outpouring of love and support towards the Links organization. We hope that Eretz Hashem, this organization, together with all the beautiful organizations of Klal Yisrael, will be Zoche Eretz Hashem to do incredible work on behalf of our people. So with that, let us begin. So today's Daf Tzadik Beis. We have a lot to do today. Some really great Gemara ahead of us. New parak. Always very exciting. So we'll say, today's daf is 92. We are on 91b, and we left off two dots. Which two dots? We left off in the short lines? I don't even know how I keep my job. All right, so let's go. So Gemara says as follows. So good. In the short lines, ksiv. So we'll say it is two. What is it? Yes, thank you. 6 lines up in the short lines before the intermediate wide lines, which are before the much larger lines. All right. So the Gemara says as follows. Ksiv machlon and kilyon. Supposed to remember again. We were speaking out yesterday. Machlon and kilyon, the sons of Nami and Elimelech, who died in Moab, unfortunately. So the Gemara says as follows. So ksiv. Machlon and Kilyon, Uksiv Yoash v'Saraf. So we'll say, Machlon and Kilyon are known by two names. One says Machlon and Kilyon, another says Yoash v'Saraf. So which are the names? So Rabbi Shmuel Chadamar Machlon and Kilyon Shman. So Rabbi Shmuel, so one of them said Machlon and Kilyon are the real names. I Valama Nikra Shman Saraf v'Yoash. Yoash Nisyaishu min Agula. So he was called Yoash because Yoash is from Yeush. He had given up on Geula. And I will say it's very profound. Now, what does that mean? Actually, it's the Rashbam right to the right. So when it says Shemina Gula, Sheyigal Makadosh Baruch Hu min Harav, Ki Dichseva Ki Paka Lashem Esamo, L'Seisal Nechem. So one of them says Yoash means that one of the sons had given up hope that HaKadosh Baruch Hu would ever redeem Klal Yisrael from the famine. Very, very profound. Saraf. Saraf that they were unfortunately were deserving of streifa because they had left Klal Yisrael. The Chad Amar Yoash v'Saraf Shman. Others say no, their real names were Yoash and Saraf. So why were they called Machlon v'Kilyon? Machlon sha'asa gufan chulun. So Machlon because they made their bodies profane. They both say so incredible. How do they make their bodies profane? Once again, by leaving Eretz Yisrael, which is really such an incredible and overwhelming idea. That when you're if you think about this, when you're in Eretz Yisrael, by definition, your body is holy. Your body is holy because you are standing. Your entirety is in a place that is holy. When I'm outside of Eretz Yisrael, the Gemara posits that the body is profane. Why was it called Kilyon? Because they warranted or were deserving of destruction before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, so Machlokes, which is the real name versus which is the descriptive name. Tanya Kiman Amar Machlon and Kilyon Shman. So also have a brayso that supports this idea that their names were Machlon and Kilyon. The Sanya Ma'edichsiv V'Yokim Va'Anshe Koziva V'Yosh V'Saraf Asher Balu L'Ma V'Yishmi Lechem Ba'Dvar Matikim. So the Gemara says. So we'll say. So what is this pasuk? This pasuk in Divrei Yamim. What is the pasuk referring to? V'Yokim. Who does that refer to? Zeh Yoshua. This refers to Yoshua. Shehekim Shvuah Va'Anshe Givon, who upheld his oath to the people of Givon. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Va'anshe Koziva, who are the people of deceit. Elo Anshe Givon Shekaza b'Yoshua. These are the people of Givon who lied to Yoshua. So we'll say, what's the story of the Givonim? Remember again, the halacha was that when Yoshua entered into Eretz Yisrael, they were supposed to wipe out. The Zayin Amim, the 7 nations. The Givonim posed as a foreign nation. They pretended that they were not from Canaan. They pretended instead that they were from outside. They disguised themselves. They changed, right? It's good. And they came to Yoshua and said, we want to make a treaty with Klal Yisrael. Yoshua was fooled. Yoshua was duped. And he made the treaty. Afterwards, he discovered who they really are. but because he had made the treaty, he did not feel that he could go back on his words. So he relegated them to the status of water carriers for Klal Yisrael. Okay, so that's what it's referring to over here. The Yoash, the Saraf. Who's Yoash and Saraf? Elu Machlon Kilyon. This is the first of the widest lines. This is the first Machlon Kilyon. Ayvelamani Gershman Yoash v'Saraf. Why were they called Yoash and Saraf? Yoash sheneseshu min agula. So Yoash, because ultimately again they had despaired, given up from the gula. Saraf sheneschayvu sreifa lamakom. Saraf, that they warranted a death penalty. Sreifa before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Asher ba'alu l'moav. What does that mean? That literally again they had bia with moav. Ba'alu means like they became the husband, or ba'al l'moav shenasu nashim aviyos. They married Moabite women. Machlon and Kilyon. Remember again the sons of Namin Elimelech married Moabite girls. The Yishbi Lachem. What's Yishbi Lachem? Zu Rus HaMoaviyah. This refers to Rus the Moabite. Sheshava v'nidbaka bebeis Lechem Yehuda, who returned with Naomi and ultimately becomes a resident in Beis Lechem, which was part of the tribal area of Yehuda. Vadvarim atikim, and these are ancient words. What does this mean? So the Gemara says, Halalu asik yomya amran. These words were uttered by the one who is as old as days, which of course is a reference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. D'chsev masasi David avdi uksiv shtei benosecha nimsos. So also the idea over here, and this is really fascinating and incredibly profound, which is the Gemara says, the Gemara is essentially telling us, the Pasuk is telling us, that know that all of the events which led to the birth of David HaMelech were all orchestrated by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That the Rebbe Shalom is one who put into motion that ultimately, again, Rus and Elimelech and Naomi would leave Eretz Yisroel, go to Moab, Machlon and Kilyon would marry Rus and Arpa, and ultimately, again, those unions would create David HaMelech. So that's what it means when it says, Vadvarim atikim. These words are ancient, means these words, these events, were orchestrated by the ones who is as old as days, as old as time. Pretty incredible. Hema yotzrim v'yoshvin netam u'v'gadram hamelech b'malachto. So I'll say, so Gemara quotes another pasuk over here. Another pasuk from Divrei Yamim. So the Gemara says as follows. Hema yotzrim v'yoshvin netam u'gadram hamelech b'malachto yeshosha. Okay, so good. What is this referring to? Good. What is this referring to? So the Gemara says, Hema yotzrim elu b'nei Yonadav ben Rachav shenatzru shvuas avihem. So this is very beautiful. This refers to the sons of Yonadav ben Rachav who kept the oath of their father. So the pasuk refers to over here. Rashi says shvuas avihem. So also this man Yonadav ben Rachav ultimately saw that the base of English was going to be destroyed. He heeded the nevuas of the Navi of Yirmiyahu. He knew the base of English was going to be destroyed, and as such, he stopped drinking wine. His children kept up that same shua. They kept up his same behaviors. Shenatzu shuas avim yoshvei netam, sit in the shade of saplings or of those things that are planted. Zeh Shlomo. This refers to Shlomo Melech. Shedoma lenetia b'malchuso, who is like a sapling, like a tree in his monarchy. That just like the sapling continues to grow into a big tree, so too the monarchy of Shlomo continues to grow as well. Ugedera, what does that refer to? Zu Sanhedrin, Shegadu Pirsasen Shal Yisrael. This refers to the Sanhedrin, whose job it was to mend the breaches in Klal Yisrael. Right? That the idea of this, what is the Sanhedrin's obligation? Their obligation is to see what's broken in the Klal and to try to figure out how to fix it. Imam Melech Malachto, Yeshvu, they sat with the king, literally again in his toil and his work. This is beautiful. Zurus HaMoaviyah, Sheras Avamalchus, Shlomo ben Bino, Shal ben Bino. Shene'emar Vayosem Kisei Le'em HaMelech. So I said, this is beautiful. The Gemara has a tradition that Rus lived a very long life, and actually she even saw the monarchy of Shlomo, which would have been her great-great-grandson. She saw the monarchy of Shlomo. As the pasuk says, Vayosem Kisei HaMelech. Then next to Shlomo, they placed a chair for the mother of the king. Mother of the king doesn't just mean the mother of the king. Rather, what does mother of the king mean? The mother of the monarchy. Who was the mother of the monarchy? Rus HaMoaviyah. Which I will say, if you think about it, is such a profoundly beautiful idea. Rus had such a ridiculously difficult life, right? Widowed twice at a relatively young age. Because remember again, Her first husband died when she was young. And even Boaz, right? The Chazal tell us that Boaz married Rus. They had a child, and Boaz died not long after they got married. So the Gemara says over here something so incredibly beautiful, that yet Rus was zocha to see that she created a dynasty. She created a dynasty, an incredible metaphor that if we're willing to put in the work, we're willing to put in the effort, and we're willing not to get lost in the losses and difficulties and trials and tribulations of life, we're willing to hold on, we'll see the fruits of our labor. We will see it. Just what ends up happening so often in life is when we undergo adversity, we just get swallowed up by it and we let go and we give up. But if we're willing to hold on, you'll take your seat at the side of your life accomplishment. If you hold on long enough, you'll be able to see the beautiful personalistic dynasty that you're able to create. Just don't give up. So Rus was able to hold on, and Baruch Hashem, she sat next to Shlomo. Pretty incredible. Torah Banon. V'achalta min hatvua yashan. It's supposed to be beautiful. So the pasuk says, you will eat from your aged grain. So we'll say, so remember again, this is part of the brachas. Part of the brachas. So the Torah says, Uzratem es hashana hashminis, v'achalta min hatvua yashan, ad shana teshiyis, ad bo tvua tochal yashan. This is actually talking about the mitzvah of keeping Shemitah. And if you keep Shemitah, the Torah says in year 6, you'll have enough grain. You'll have enough grain for years 6, 7, and 8. And then what will happen? Then you'll go ahead and you'll plant in year number 8. And you'll go ahead and you're able to eat the old grain up until year number 9. So the idea over here is that the brach of Shemitah is, even in year 9, you'll still have leftover grain from year 6. That's how good it's going to be. So the pasuk says, Yashan. So what does it mean, Yash? What does it mean you'll eat from the old wheat? What does that mean? Below salmantun. The wheat won't have any salmantun. My below salmantun. What does that mean, salmantun? Rav Nachman or below ritzinsa. So Rav Nachman says it refers to ritzinsa. It's very helpful. Right? So the Rashbam says ritzinsa is tola'as hamarkives hatvua. The grain won't become wormy. It won't become wormy. It won't rot. Rav Shesha Samar really means without the worms. So Rav Shesha says below shedifa, it won't rot. It won't rot. So I'll say, so the idea over here is there's a bracha in the wheat of year 6, either according to one approach that it won't become wormy, according to the second approach that it won't rot. Tanya Kavase de Rav Sheshes, Tanya Kavase de Rav Nachman. Tanya Kavase de Rav Nachman, Ba'achaltem Yashan, Yochel Yuhu Yisrael Mitzapin, L'chadash Mevnei Yashan Shakala. You might have thought that Klal Yisrael will eagerly await the arrival of year 9 wheat, because the old wheat has already rotted, or Mevnei Yashan Shakala, ran out. Talmud Lomar, Ad Bo Savuasa, Ad Shetavo Tvua Me'eleha. Until the wheat ultimately again comes on its own. So you see from here that it's not the pshat that we're waiting for the new wheat because the old wheat became wormy, but rather again there's still plenty of old wheat available. But again we eagerly await the arrival of the new wheat as well. You shall eat from the old wheat. You might have thought that Klal Yisrael was waiting for the new wheat because the old wheat went bad. Talmud Lomer, Radid, Talmud Lomer, Ad Bosavu Asa, Ad Shetavo Tavua Me'ela. No, you're waiting for the new wheat. In other words, I'm waiting for the new wheat because it's nice to have the new wheat. But Lamaisa, again, it's not that I need the new wheat. There's still old wheat available. But of course, there's a bracha in something, an excitement in something new. Incredible, Rabbi say. So this yields the Gemara to a fascinating conclusion. Tan Rabbanon, Ve'achaltem Yashan Noshan. So I'll say, so remember again, what's interesting to note over here is, this is by the brachas. V'achaltem yashan noshan v'yashem nechadash tosiyah. So literally, you will eat yashan noshan. So we'll say, so yashan noshan sounds very old, right? Very old. You'll eat the old wheat. So the Gemara says yashan mepnei chadash tosiyah, and you'll have so much of the old wheat left that even when the new wheat comes in, you'll have to move out the old wheat to make room for the new wheat. That's the bracha of parnas that Hakadosh Baruch Hu gives us. So listen to this. Gemara says, "V'achaltem yashan noshan, melamed shekala meyushan mechavero have yafa mechavero." So let's listen to this. This is so beautiful. It teaches us that whatever is older is better. Whatever is older is better. Take a look at the Rashbam for just a moment. V'achaltem yashan melamed shekalam yushan demashma hayashan yochlu v'anichu hachadash lis yashin. So I'll say, so in other words, the way the Gemara is reading the pasuk is v'achaltem yashan noshan v'yashem nechadash tosiu. You will continue to eat the old wheat even when the new wheat is available. Even the new wheat is available. So what do you see from here? That there is a benefit. There's a benefit in the old. Something that is old is better than something that is new. So we'll say, what a profound insight, right? In life, it's incredible. In life, we're always drawn to the new, shiny thing. And we tend to go ahead and just simply forsake the old thing. The Gemara says, there's a beauty in the old. And there's a holiness in the old. So first of all, this lesson is so important on so many incredible levels. First of all, I'll say, just in our ruchnius, the most precious thing we have in this world, the most precious thing we have is Torah. And the oldest thing that exists in this universe is Torah. Right? Because Torah, the Ribono Shel Olam, they're intertwined. So just like the Ribono Shel Olam is ageless, timeless, Torah is ageless, timeless. The most important thing, the most beautiful thing that exists in this world is this thing that defies time, Torah. We'll say, but it's also important, it also applies to people. This is why we have the concept, ultimately, mipnei seva takum v'hadarta pnei zakin. Whereas sometimes society gauges the worth of people by what they can produce, we gauge the worth of people by the life experience that they have. That's why we have an obligation to respect our elderly. We have an obligation to revere our elderly. There is a beauty and there is a holiness in that which is old. Because if something is old, that means it's acquired knowledge, that means it's acquired kedusha, and even if it can't impart that knowledge or share that knowledge, it has an inherent holiness. And lastly, I will say, what does it mean, shekala miyushan? We'll say, what's the difference? He's saying that is old and new. So it's old and new. What's the difference? Something that is old, has ingrained behaviors, has habituation, as opposed to something that is new, doesn't really have a track record. I was saying, what is the greatest thing that we strive for in life? The greatest thing we strive for in life? Consistency. What is the hardest thing to achieve in life? Consistency. So it could very well be that also this statement of Kol hamiyushan mechavero, gadol mechaver, harayafe mechavero. Something that is older than its friend is better than its friend. What does older mean? Older means something that has an established track record of consistency. Whatever is consistent is more beautiful than something that is inconsistent. I would say that's why it's incredible, right? Isn't it fascinating that when you see a sunrise, that right, it's overwhelming, it's beautiful. What's strange about that? It's been doing that for a while, right? It's not like, you're not going to believe what I just saw today, right? Something brand new. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Yet, what it is, part of the beauty in a sunrise is my neshama feels that sense of consistency. My neshama says, oh, I want to be like that. And in fact, I will say it's incredible, even though we are normally compared to the moon. If you remember again in the Yiratzon and Kiddush Levana, part of that Yiratzon that we say, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's because you're already in your car going home, right? Right? But Lamaisa, there's a Yiratzon in Kiddush Levana, a very beautiful part of it, that says that we should be Zoch Emeres Hashem, to be like the sun. Be like the sun. That's part of our symbol. What does it mean you want to be like the sun? Because what the sun represents is consistency, right? The beauty of the moon, but compared to the moon, because the moon is inconsistent, right? The moon waxes and wanes. I see myself in the moon. I see the moon in myself a lot. We're really mirror images of each other. It's inconsistent. I'm inconsistent. But what do I yearn for? I really want to be like the sun. I really want to have that sun-like consistency. That's part of the drama, and that's part of what takes us so profoundly about a sunrise and a sunset, is I'm seeing that sense of consistency, and that's what I want for myself more than anything. Even though I know, no matter how badly I want it, I'm not really going to ever fully be consistent. That's just the nature of the human condition. But sometimes in life, it's good to want things even though you know you're probably not going to get them in full measure. Just the yearning for it is in and of itself so profound. So perhaps that's the idea over here in the Gemara as well. Something that is older than its friend. Older means consistent, more consistent. Something that is consistent is more beautiful than something that is inconsistent. And I'll say, sometimes even if you can't achieve something, doesn't mean you don't try. I know that I can't achieve complete consistency. I know that I can't. That's what makes me human. That's what makes Kadosh Baruch Hu Kadosh Baruch Hu. Rebbe Shalom is Rebbe Shalom because he can be consistent. And I am not a Kadosh Baruch Hu because I am inconsistent. But just because I don't think I could cross the finish line of consistency doesn't mean that I shouldn't try for it every single day. Because that which is older than its friend, that which is more consistent, is always more beautiful than something that is less consistent. Incredible Gemara. So he says, "Ve'inli dvarim, ve'inli ela dvarim shedarkon liyashnon, dvarim she'in darkon liyashnon minayin." So I only know that this refers to things that it's normal to age, right? Things that are not normal to age them, right? To keep them when they're old. How do I know? Talmud lomar yashan noshan mipnei mikol makom. So part of the bracha I'll say over here is, look, there are certain things obviously that naturally age and they keep. But what the Torah is telling us is that the bracha is even things that don't necessarily age well. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says still there's going to be a bracha, and they're going to age well, and they're going to keep. V'yashan mipnei chadash totziu. What does it mean? That literally, again, you will remove the old to make way for the new. Malamei shahayu otzros malei yashan ugranos malei chadash. I will say this is beautiful. It teaches us that when Klal Yisrael keeps the mitzvos, when we keep Shemitah, when we honor our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what's going to happen? So one set of storehouses are going to be filled, the storehouses are going to be filled with old produce. The granaries are going to be filled with new produce. V'hayu Yisrael omrim, heich notzi zeh mipnei zeh. Can you imagine this problem? Can you imagine this problem? The storehouses are filled with old produce. The granaries are filled with new produce, and Klal Yisrael smiling ear to ear saying, what should we do? What should we do? How do we make room for the new produce? What should we do? So I'll say, I also just want to point out to you something so beautiful. That phrase, I'll say, it's so incredible that we're learning this right, literally the week right before Slichos. V'yashan mipnei chadash totziu. This is a mantra for life. Sometimes you have to remove the old to make room for the new. We're coming upon a new year. And there is nothing more exciting than a new year. Because a new year brings with it untold opportunity. A new year brings with it untold possibilities. But in order to do that, you have to make room for the new year. So the problem is, if I've accumulated all of my averas, I've accumulated all of my negative habits, I've accumulated all of my deleterious behaviors, I have all of this stuff accumulated. If it's all sitting in the granary, in the storehouse, my personalistic storehouse of life, then there's no room for any new produce to come in. So therefore, what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu say? You want to have a good year? V'yashan mipnei chadash totziu. Remove the old. We'll say sometimes it's just about a purge, right? Sometimes it's just about, right, extreme makeover. It's just about, again, a cleaning. Clean it out. This is not even tshuva. You know what this is? This is just about saying the stuff that I do that holds me back, I don't want it anymore. The behaviors that tether me to mediocrity, the character traits that keep bringing me down, I don't want it anymore. And sometimes it's as simple as saying, I'm cleaning this out of my life. I just don't want it. V'yashan mipnei chadash totziu. And if you remove the old and you remove the stuff that's negative, just saying, I don't want it. It's not even tshuva. Just saying, I don't want it. I'm getting this out of my life. Then suddenly, you make room for so much bracha. You make room for so many beautiful and new things. Klal Yisrael says, we have so much bracha in the old, so much bracha in the new. I don't know where to do what. I'll say, but that's the mantra. I feel for myself. This is like the mantra for Tafshin Pei. V'yashan mipnei chadash totziu. I'll say, we are living in a different world. Klal Yisrael is undergoing different things. Am Yisrael, it's different. It's different. There's something different in the world. There's something different about our people. There's something different about our nation. There's something different about the times in which we are living. It's time to turn a corner. It's time to become the different kind of people we need to become in order to be able to greet Moshiach. Because Moshiach is on his way. It's not just people like say, you hear the footsteps of Moshiach. Footsteps, well, this is not the footsteps. He's here. He's banging on the door. Saying, let me in. I'm ready to come. I'm ready to bring geula. But in order to do that, I have to stop being the person that I was, and I have to start becoming the person I can be. This is the mantra for this year. V'yashan mipnei chadash totziu. Get rid of the old. Identify the stuff that's holding you back in life. Get rid of it. And if I do that, there is no telling what beautiful new bracha waits for each of us as individuals and Emirat Hashem as a collective. The parak ends off, Amr Apapa, Kol Mili Atika, Ma'alya, Labar Metamri, Shichra Vaharsana. And again, Rabbi Papa says, the truth is, any items are good aged, except for three things. What are they? Dates, beer, and harsana. Harsana is fish hash. These things, fish hash definitely makes sense that it does not work out age. Beer and dates, I don't know. All right, but apparently, again, at least their beer and dates, those things are not good aged. Apparently, everything else is good aged. Hadran alach, hamocher sasina. Mazel tov, mazel osai. Okay, celebrate, mazel tov, move on. Sadik Beis 92. Today's daf, fantastic. Today's daf, hamocher saperes lechavero. So osai, so here we go. I sell fruit to my friend. I sell peros to my friend. V'zaran, and he plants them. V'lo samchu, and they did not take root. They did not take root. Now the Rashbam points out to Rabbi says that I'm selling produce to my friend, and again, I have no idea, is he buying it for consumption? Is he buying it for planting? So the point over here is I sold him produce. Turns out, I sell Ruvain produce. It turns out that he planted it, and it did not sprout. Now we're assuming over here that not that it didn't sprout because it didn't rain or things like that. It's normal conditions for vegetation to sprout, but his vegetation did not sprout. Rabbi says, what's the halacha? Va'afilu zera pishtan. Even if I sold him flaxseed. Now, flaxseed, clearly no one's eating flaxseed. The only reason you're buying flaxseed is why? Is to plant it. So what's the halacha? So now, Reuven wants to come back to me, right? And what does Reuven say to me? I want my money back. I want my money back. Mekach tos. I want my money back because at the end of the day, again, I bought seed to plant it. It didn't take root. It didn't grow. You sold me defective produce. I want my money back. So Tanakama says, no, I'm not obligated to go ahead and give him his money back. Now we're going to see the reason for that is because that halacha l'maisa, I have no reason to assume that he bought it for consumption or to plant. I have no idea. But since it's possible that he bought it for consumption, so therefore, again, I have no reason. There's no liability on the part of the seller. Take a look at the Rashbam. Follow Simchu. So Rashbam says, "Lo mi buy peros tiika tikdizam l'zhivi tikdizam l'achil lo matzi lemeimar l'achil l'machartev l'cha ve'inka mechach tos kla elafilu zera pishtan tirova pishtan nikach ba'olam l'zriya konin also tchevan tikdizam l'achil kidaminu l'liva dikisna." So I said the idea over here is that I always have the ability to say to Reuven, I'm sorry that it didn't grow. I sold it to you for consumption purposes, not for planting purposes. So because there's always that possibility that again, I could always claim I didn't sell it for planting purposes, I sold it for consumption purposes, Reuven has no claim against me. Why? The Gemara says, Lo azlinan basaruba. We're going to see that when it comes to money, monetary matters, we don't go after the rove. So the idea that the Mishnah is introducing me to over here is, I sell Reuven seeds, or I sell him produce. His intention is to plant it. He plants it, and it doesn't germinate. It doesn't take root. It doesn't grow. Reuven wants to come back to me and say, you sold me faulty produce. I say, I sold you produce. You want to plant it, you want to eat it, it's suitable for consumption, it's suitable for planting, so that I assume that you're buying it for planting purpose, for consumption purposes, and therefore, again, you have no claim. So the Tanakama says, the law is on my side. Reuven has no claim against me. Rabbi Shmuel says, Zaroni Gina She'ina Nechal and Chai Bachar Yusan. Rabbi Shmuel says, there's an exception to this rule. What's the exception to this rule? If, let's say, he buys seeds that are never consumed, but are only used for planting purposes. Literally, again, seeds of the garden. So it's interesting. Apparently, when it comes to flaxseed, some people do eat flaxseed. So we'll say, but the idea over here is Zaroni Gina refers to seeds that are never used for consumption, only used for planting. So in that case, when I sell Reuven that seed, it's clear that it's being sold for planting purposes. And if it doesn't grow, then Reuven can come back to me claiming mekachtos. This was a fraudulent or false sale or broken sale, right? Mistaken sale, and therefore Reuven could get his money back. Okay, so we'll say, so it seems to be a fundamental machlokes between Tanakama and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Tanakama holds that when you sell produce to someone, since there's always the possibility that the buyer purchased it for consumption purposes, the buyer has no claim against me when he comes back that he says, I planted it and nothing grew from it. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says that's true as long as there's the possibility that he bought it for consumption. But if it's clear that the item that's being bought is bought for planting purposes, and he plants it and assume no fault of his own, it doesn't grow, he can come back to me claiming mekachtos, claiming mistaken sale, and get his money back. Okay, so let's analyze. Really, so this, you're going to see, this Mishnah opens us up to a series of fascinating cases. Here we go. This is a great case. Great case. Itmar, Gemara. Hamocha shalach avero. So say Tzadik Beis Amud Aleph 92a, 5 lines down from the top. Say Itmar. Hamocha shalach avero v'nim tzanakon. Wow, listen to this. I sell an ox to Reuven, and it turns out that the ox that I sold him was a goring ox. Shor muad. A shor muad. Now both saying, now remember again, what can you do with a goring ox? What can you do with it? Right, shecht it. That's what you can do. Now, remember, is if I find out that I bought a shor muad, is it a total loss? No. Remember, you can shecht it, eat the meat. The issue just is as follows. The issue, so watch this. So so Reuven sells me an ox. It turns out that, I did the CarMax thing and everything, and it turns out the Shormax, right? And it turns out that it didn't show up. It didn't show up, but it turns out that it's a muad. It turns out that it's a nakon, it's a goring ox. So I go back to Reuven and say, Reuven, I want my money back. Reuven's like, why? What's wrong? Because I can say, Reuven, I bought this ox for plowing purposes. Right? For plowing purposes, not for shechita purposes. So the problem is you are not allowed to maintain a goring ox. So therefore it turns out that I have to slaughter this ox, but that's not why I bought this. So watch this. It says Rav Amar Hareze Mekachtos. Rav says it's a mekachtos. Right? Literally again it's a mistaken sale, and I can go back to Reuven saying, Reuven, I bought this for plowing purposes, and therefore, again, you sold me an ox that can only be shechted. I want my money back. Shmuel says, no. Shmuel says, it's not a mekachtos. Why? Reuven could say, okay, I didn't know you're buying it for plowing purposes. I sold it to you for shechita purposes. I assumed that you were going ahead and going to shecht it. I know it's a muad, but even though it's muad, that doesn't matter. You're going to kill it. You're going to slaughter it anyway. So what does it matter? What does it matter? So what does it matter? So the Gemara says, okay, so we'll say fundamental machlokes. So see, hear this? This is a great case. Great case. So again, I bought the shor from Reuven. All right, it turns out that it's a goring ox. I go back to Reuven, I want my money back because I went ahead and I bought this for plowing purposes. Rav says, the halacha sides with me, the buyer. Right? I bought it for plowing purposes, mekachtos. Shmuel says, no mekachtos. Reuven could say to me, okay, I didn't know you were buying it for plowing purposes. I thought you were buying it for shechita purposes. This ox is totally fit for shechita, for consumption purposes. I'm sorry, I'm not giving you back your money. So I say, now watch this. So the Gemara says as follows. V'lechsei, igaver de zabin l'nesachta, l'nechasta, sorry. L'raja. So the Gemara says, well, let's analyze. Let's look at my buying patterns. What do I normally buy oxen for? If I'm normally a guy who buys oxen for shechita, that's lenechasta, then it's clear that I bought it for shechita. If I'm a guy who normally buys it for plowing, then it should be for plowing. In other words, let's look at my buying habits and then determine it based on that. So the Gemara says, we know where this is going. Begaver de zaman lahachi ulahachi. Now it's a case where I buy for both, which makes sense. Sometimes I buy oxen for shechita, sometimes I buy it for plowing. I have lechsi dami hechi ninu. Why do we look at how much I paid? As Rabbi say, bipashtos, a plowing ox is much more expensive than a consumption ox, right? A shechita ox, right? Because remember again, a plowing ox is ongoing benefit versus a shechita ox is a one-time benefit. So shouldn't the amount of money that I paid reflect about what the use I had intention for? Lo tzricha tiyaker bisra, they come b'dimheira. No, actually, we're talking about a case where the price of meat has gone up significantly, and therefore, interestingly enough, a shechita ox is the same cost, the same price as a plowing ox. So therefore, again, price tag itself is not a distinction either. The Gemara says, well, one second. Well, if that's the case, then I don't understand what's the big deal over. In other words, I could recapture my money anyway. So in other words, even if Reuven doesn't want to refund my money, no problem. Shecht the ox, sell off the meat, and you'll recapture your entire amount. What's the big deal? Tushmar says, no. Nafkamina latircha. Rabbi say this does make a very big deal because the shaila is who is obligated to deal with the sale of the animal. In other words, I got it. I could shecht it, sell off the meat, or for that matter, again, I could even sell the animal for consumption purposes. What's the issue? The issue is there's tircha, right? That's a bother. That's a to-do. So who has to deal with the bother? So Gemara says, nafkamina, you're right. So it could very well be that from a financial perspective, I'm not worried. I'm not going to lose money. I'll recapture my money. But the shaila is who is obligated to deal with the actual disposition and sale of the animal. So the Gemara says, Hechidami. So what's the case over here? So I'll say, so what's the case? Hechidami. Amud Beis. So I'll say, so let's analyze this. If I'm going back to Reuven, right? And Reuven doesn't have any money. Reuven doesn't have any funds. So now I'm going back. So now what we've established is as follows. We've established that either I'm a person who always buys, so let's just clarify the case. I bought an ox from Reuven. It turns out that it's a goring ox. I go back to Reuven and say, Reuven, I want my money back. Mekach tos, I bought this ox for plowing. This ox is only fit for shchita. So now again, machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Rav says, I have a good claim, Reuven should give me back my money. Right? Shmuel says, no, Reuven could claim he sold to me for consumption purposes. I understand the case. Possibility one, let's look at my buying patterns. That doesn't work. Why? Because I'm a guy who buys both for consumption and for plowing. Let's look at value. To which the Gemara says, no, that doesn't work either. Why? The price of meat has appreciated so much that literally, again, a shchita ox and plowing ox are the same price. If that's the case, then what's the big deal? The value is the value. I haven't lost anything. To which the Gemara says, no. What's the nafkamina? L'tircha. Who's obligated? According to Rav, I can give back the animal to Reuven and say, Reuven, you deal with it. According to Shmuel, Reuven could say, no, you deal with it. I'm not taking it back. It's your ox. You bought it for consumption. Or I thought you bought it for consumption purposes. Leave me alone. To which again the Gemara says, hey chidami. What's the case? When I go back to Reuven, we'll say, if we're talking about a case over here where I go back to Reuven and say, Reuven, I want my money back. Mekach tos. So if we're saying that Reuven has no money, right, if that's the case, le'akav tura bezuzeh. Then I will say, if Reuven has no money, then it makes no sense for me to return the ox, right? It only makes sense for me to hold on to it. Why? Damri Inshi, as people say, Man mari rishvasech pe'iri efra. So says the famous adage goes, if someone owes you money, even accept bran as payment, which means when someone owes you money, don't be picky about the form of repayment. Grab whatever you can because you run a danger ultimately of not getting repaid. So what's the case over here? No, the case where Reuven has money. So let's analyze. So Rav Amar Hareze Mekach Tos. So I'll say, so now watch this. So here's the case, right? So the case over here, now that we've established, is I'm a guy who buys for both shchita and plowing, right? But I'm coming, and again, price wise, the value is pretty much the same. So you can't tell from the value. So now I'm going back to Reuven and say, Reuven, I want my money back. Because at the end of the day, I bought this cow for plowing purposes, but this is a goring ox. This is a goring ox, not fit for plowing purposes. So Rav says, okay, Rav says, I'm right. The halacha is with me, the buyer. Mekachtos, why? Basa ruba azlinon, the ruba l'rajazin. This is fascinating. Rav says we're going to go after the rove, after the majority. So it's fascinating. The majority of people buy oxen for plowing purposes. Fascinating. Again, I will say, obviously that's going to be societally subjective, but the majority of people, which actually makes sense in an agricultural society, the majority of people in buying oxen buy oxen for plowing purposes. Therefore, again, the rove is on my side, the buyer's side. So if when I go to Reuven, say, but you need all these criteria, right? I'm a guy who normally buys for both. Price is not an indicator because the value is the same. So now I come to Reuven and I say, Reuven, I want my money back because I bought this ox for plowing and you sold me a goring ox. So Rav says, the halacha is on my side, mekach tos. Why? Because I have the rove. Majority of people buy oxen for plowing purposes. Shmuel says, no. Wow, fascinating. Shmuel says, rove is only a concept in Isser, not a concept in Mammon. So the concept of rov, of following the majority, does not apply in monetary matters. Only applies in matters of prohibition. So this is absolutely fascinating. Take a look at the Rashbam for just a moment. Bisura kigon teisha chanayos. Skip down low. Bazina basaruba. Ela achar hamuchzak im yesh lo shum taina. See, this is incredible. By Mammon, what is the governing principle by Mammon? It's incredible. What's the governing principle by Mammon? Hamosi mechavero alav haraya. Right? The governing principle by money is whoever has the money is considered to be the rightful owner unless you could conclusively prove otherwise. In other words, the burden of proof is upon the one who wants to extract the money. So this is incredible. So therefore, I paid Reuven for the ox. Now I want to come back and I want to say, Reuven, I want my money back. Why? Because I went ahead and I bought it for plowing purposes and not for consumption purposes. And the animal the ox is a goring animal. So Rav says, okay, we go after the rov. Rov says majority of people buy oxen for plowing purposes. Therefore, again, Reuven getting back my money. Shmuel says, no. Rov is not a din by mammon. Rov is not a din by monetary things. Rov is only a din by isser. So what's the guiding light principle by mammon? Hamotzi mechaver alav haraya. Now in this case, you're supposed to say, who has the money? Reuven has the money. Therefore, again, if I want to extract the money from Reuven, which is what I'm going to do now, I'm claiming it's my money, I want it back, that's fine. But Reuven has it right now. Reuven is the muchzak. You want to extract it from Reuven? That's fine. Prove it. Build the case. And Rov is not enough. You have to build a legal case. I have to build a case against Reuven in order to extract the money. So we'll say, this is the fundamental machlok. It's so exciting. This is the fundamental machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Rav says we go after the rov. Shmuel says amotzi mechaver alav haraya. Okay, so we'll say, so now I know the machlokes. Watch this. Here we go. Now we're going to lob a whole bunch of questions against each of the respective opinions. Here we go. Meisvei the Merez Kasha Ha'isha shenis almila onis garsha. So we'll say, watch this. Reuven's married to Rachel. Rachel gets divorced or is widowed. Right, or is widowed. He omeres besulani seisi. So she claims, Reuven was my first husband. I got married as a besula, and therefore I'm entitled to a ksuv of 200 zuz. V'hu omer, and he says, I guess he says in the case of divorce, or his estate says in the case of he died. But let's go with divorce, right? So they're getting divorced. So Rachel claims, Reuven, you owe me 200 zuz. I was a besula when we got married. It's the first marriage. V'hu omer lo ke'ela hamona nisasicha. Reuven says, no, it wasn't your first marriage. You were a widow. And therefore, I only owe you 100 zuz. Wow, what a machlokes. Sometimes you're like, yeah, I understand why they're getting divorced, right? So the Gemara says over here, right? So the Gemara says, again, they're arguing. He says first marriage, she says second marriage. Sorry, she says first marriage, he says second marriage. So what's the halacha? Im yesh edim shiyata sabehinuma berosha porua ksuvas l'masayim. So if there are edim, I will say that at the wedding she was wearing a veil, and that her hair, she went out to the chuppah with her hair uncovered, then she's entitled to 200 zuz. So we'll say, so this is actually interesting. So apparently, only by first marriages did women wear a veil, and obviously, again, only by first marriages was the woman's hair uncovered. So therefore, again, if she could bring eidos, if she could bring witnesses, then Allah again, her hair was uncovered, or again, she was wearing a veil. It's fascinating. There's a lot of interesting discussion about wearing a veil by second marriages. Just fascinating. Again, not our topic for today. So if she can bring eidos, then Allah again, she's entitled to ksuva 200 zuz. And now watch this. Taima di ika eidin. So the reason she would get 200 zuz is if she could prove that it was a first marriage. Haleka eidim lo. But if there weren't witnesses, then if there aren't witnesses, then the most she can get is 100 zuz. Now that's interesting. Vamai lema helach acharov rov anoshim. V'rov nashim besulos nisos. So I will say, why not say, go after the rov? The majority of marriages are first marriages. So therefore, Allah say. So I'll say, so what do you see from here? You see from here that you don't go after the rov. So this is a kasha on Rav and a support to Shmuel. Essentially what they're saying is like this, Rachel, you want the ksuv of 200 zuz. What is that? Hamotzi mechaver alav haraya. Okay. So your husband or your ex-husband Reuven is not admitting to that. He's claiming he only owes you 100 zuz. You want to extract more money, the burden of proof is upon you. And even though the rov says the majority of marriages are first marriages, so Rachel has the rov on her side, You see that we don't go by rov, we go by Moshe Mechaber Lavaraya. Incredible. Tushning says, no. Amar Ravina. Did I skip? Amar Ravina, Yishum de'ika l'meima rov nashim besulos nisos umiut almanos. So here's the difference. You're right, there is a rov. The rov says the majority of women who get married for the first time, but there is a miut, there is a significant minority that get married. Second marriages, v'chol anises besula yesh lakol. Now I'll say in general, first marriages have a kol. Vizu, in other words, people know about it. Vizu, hoil ve'ein la kol isra la ruba. This woman Rachel, because again there's no kol associating her marriage. Therefore, again I will say there's like a crack in her rov, right? Her rov ultimately again is diminished in standing. The rov is not as powerful. So an incredible idea over here. See, right? There is a rov, but generally the rov is accompanied by a kol. This case, Rachel has the rov, but the rov doesn't have a kol. A rov without a kol is a diminished rov. And therefore, in order for her to extract 200 zuz, she needs edus. So I say, if that's the case, that when women get married as a basula, first marriages have a kol, so therefore in this case over here, Rachel doesn't have a kol, ultimately, again, who cares that there are edim? My hobby, midless they call sadi shakrininu. If there are, right, if there's no call, even if there are witnesses, we should assume that these are false witnesses. Rather, we'll say we assume that the majority of women who get married, first marriages have a kol. This Rachel, because she doesn't have a kol, therefore her rov is diminished. Therefore, we'll say this case doesn't really prove Rav or Shmuel. This is a different kind of case. Normally, we would rely on rov. This rov is a compromised rov. Why? Because there is no kol. So we'll stop over here for today. Again, so we're not stuck, chas v'sholom. We find ourselves in the middle of this machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Resolution in Eretz Hashem tomorrow. Shkoyach.